Hello everyone, this is week 9 and this is our last video of First Things First series. I am really grateful for Professor Anita and Professor and Leon that they have been working on this with us. It's been a great journey. And well, to start this conversation, wanted to ask Professor, how has your experience been with this over a year of remote learning experiences? What have you learned? Anything that you think moving forward with this?
That's a really good question. I think the first thing that I've learned is that what we do in the classroom face-to-face and the routine of life as students in the face-to-face world doesn't translate easily into the online format. And that, you know, even though I've worked really hard to learn how to do interactive things during my classes to sort of accommodate the new online format, the rhythm is different, and it's just more exhausting for students to sit in front of a screen. And their home lives are different right now. The demands on their lives are different. And so learning to be flexible about adjusting my expectations for how much students can read, the amount of work they can get done. It's not the same as it was before, and the world is not the same, right? So for me, remembering the thing I want to take away from this is remembering how important it is for educators to center their teaching in the student's perspective and experience, and to remind yourself to check back in with how are students feeling, what are they experiencing right now? Because we forget, like even those of us that are first-gen faculty who come from first-gen low-income backgrounds, my life is very different now than it was when I was an undergrad. You know, I've worked really hard and I've been very fortunate, and I have a very stable and comfortable living environment now. And so that means that my day-to-day routine is different. The demands on my time are different. My internet connection is really great. You know, I have the equipment that I need. And so even though I'm from a first-gen background, I have to remind myself to step back into the headspace of when I was 19 or 20, what did my life look like? And then plan for that, right? And then the second thing also is this pandemic has reminded me to choose to commit to believing in my students' best intentions, right? Because like the reality is a lot of students don't show up for online classes. A lot of them are behind in their work. They're not always in communication. And rather than sort of having a knee-jerk reaction or getting defensive about it and thinking of it as, oh, they're being disrespectful to me or they're being lazy, to remind myself, no, their life circumstances are very complicated right now, and I don't necessarily have all the information. So my choice is to believe in their best intentions, to believe that they want to learn, and to make decisions about how to deal with late work and absences from that position of good faith, right? So I guess that's how I would answer your question.
I think that goes both ways as well, because if there's something that I have learned too, is that when I first came into college as a first-gen student, I saw professors as kind of the people that gave you grades and would decide your future, right? Whether you had like a good career or not a good career. But I think that this mentorship program especially has allowed me to see that professors are people too, and they have their lives and their pasts as well, and that we should take that in consideration whenever we as students go about making decisions. So I think that also goes both ways, basically everything that you mentioned.
I appreciate that.
And well, with that being said, you also mentioned how the pacing of things are different between like in-person and remote learning. So I was just wondering if you had any tips for when and if the fall is in person, how to go about that.
Yeah, I mean, the first one would be get your vaccine. You know, if you don't have your vaccine, and I'm speaking to everyone right now, here in California, there are programs that will make vaccines available now to you, whether you are low income, insured, uninsured, documented or undocumented. Get your vaccine so that you can be safe, right? And get your relatives vaccinated as well. And if they have questions about the vaccination, talk to a doctor, right? talk to somebody who knows and that you trust to get the information you need. Let's be safe so that we can actually come back together at school and in other places. The second thing I would say is, remember what we've learned this year about the importance of wellness and taking care of our mental health. And I think we've all become a lot clearer on the role that stress and anxiety play in our lives in this modern society that we live in. And I think some of us have learned hard but important lessons about finding the balance between pushing ourselves, right? And as first-gen low-income folks, we know we have to push ourselves. Like, we've always known that, right? It's not a surprise to us. We do have to work hard, right? And I celebrate that. I celebrate our work ethic, but at the same time, knowing at what point do you need to rest? At what point do you need to be kind to yourself and say, okay, I had this aspiration. I got 90% of the way there. That's still pretty good. And now I need a break, right? Remembering compassion and to care for your health, physical and mental. And then finally, once we're back on campus, like, carpe diem, seize the day, right? As my favorite movie from back when I was your age, Dead Poets Society, where they said, right, like, seize the day, all of the opportunities that are available on campus, take advantage of all of them, right? Go to the Career Center, go to the Education Abroad Center and learn about study abroad, because study abroad is also available to first-gen low-income students. There's extra money. There are ways of studying abroad, right? Go to the Writing Center, just find different clubs, join them all, right? They won't all stick, but it's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. Some of them will stick, right? And find internships. Just, the university is like a treasure box of opportunities to learn and grow. Get every possible piece of bling out of that treasure box and put it on yourself.
Thank you. I think that's really inspiring.
Well, I have a couple of questions for you. So the first question I want to ask you is, thinking back on this first year, what have been your biggest challenges and also your biggest victories as a first-gen freshman at UCI?
I think that they go hand in hand. The biggest victory has been overcoming the biggest challenge. So I think that the biggest challenge has been just simply adapting to the quarter system, adapting to the workload and the expectations. And the victory has been that I think that I have adapted as well as I've been able to. And I think that it only works if you have your mind into why you're doing something, and just knowing that there's a purpose to what you're doing it, staying focused and just staying motivated throughout like this 10-week chunks of time that seem like so weird at some points, that it's week 5, but it feels that you're like really, really deep in. So time perception has changed for me as well. And I think that has been one of the biggest victories.
Great. And then my final question for you is, when you think back on this First Things First virtual mentoring process, what have been your favorite moments from this year's process? And in what ways have you benefited from the First Things First virtual mentoring?
I think that just doing the weekly reflections during the fall, I think that those were very beneficial, and I would really enjoy making those videos because it allowed me to reflect on just a week's worth of experiences and how much had those impacted my life and how much those still reflect on my daily life, because I feel like fall quarter was really significant to me. So just reflecting upon those has been something very beneficial to me, and something that I hope to continue to do, maybe starting journaling or something along those lines to kind of reflect upon my experiences. And like I mentioned before, just remembering the why of doing things.
The why is so important, right? The why is what gives us the fuel that we need to continue forward, right? And reflection, whether it's journaling or just talking to people, or even just checking in with yourself for a couple of minutes at the beginning of the day. All right, this day ahead of me might feel overwhelming, but why am I working, right? For me, I work so that I can provide a good life to my daughter. And I also work because I believe in the power of education, and I want to see you and other students like you lifted up through your time at UCI, right? Yeah, so reflecting on the why is very important. And, you know, as we reflect back on this year, I think it's important to remember that we often focus on how far we have to go and the things that are ahead of us, but it's important to also reflect on how far we've come, right? And you have come so far in this year, Greta. So congratulations, felicidades, for being a almost no longer freshman student. And I wish you the best of luck next year.
Thank you so much, Professor.
All right, bye everyone.
Goodbye.